Hello, welcome to Making Photos. I'm Ian Butterfield. In this video, I want to talk about Instagram. Instagram's a pain, isn't it? Do you use Instagram? I'm not a big Instagram user myself, and one of the reasons is because it's so difficult to prepare images for it. And this is one of the questions I get asked a lot. It's, what's the best way to prepare my images for Instagram? And you'd think it's straightforward. It's a platform for sharing photos. We ought to just be able to drag and drop images up there. But it's not as straightforward as that, and not that easy by any means. Here's the problem. Instagram kind of expects images to be in a particular format. Square appears to be the preferred format, 1080 by 1080 pixels. But they do accept horizontal and vertical images, but it's different depending which. Horizontal images have a maximum width of 1080 pixels, and they prefer them to have an aspect ratio of, get this, 1.91 to 1. In other words, 1080 by 608 pixels. But yet, if you want to present a vertical image there, they're still happy for it to be 1080 wide, and you can now go to 1350 pixels long. But even if you do get your image in an aspect ratio that Instagram will accept, then there are other problems. The way it displays them, and it may not do your images the justice that they deserve. Let's have a look at this image. It's a photograph from Gdansk, and you can see I've got a horizontal aspect ratio, but it's stuck these big black borders on there. And even with some of the vertical images, you can sometimes find that you upload an image you think is right, and then it insists that you crop it, and the crop leaves just a little bit of a watermark left. But what about the profile page? Well, as you can see here, it crops the image, irrespective of whether it's tall or wide, into a square, which means sections of the image are cropped off. So we've lost half a sign or half the words on there, the top of a lighthouse, and it just doesn't do your photography justice. Is all this doing your head in? Well, it certainly does my head in, and that's why I don't do that much with Instagram. So I was challenged a week or so back to come up with a solution to this, a way of exporting images from Lightroom, which, irrespective of the aspect ratio, they are going to look great here on Instagram. Let me take you over to a section of my profile where I've uploaded images using the technique I'm going to show you. You can see here the most recent 6 images that I've uploaded, and they're all in different aspect ratios. They're not being cropped. They've even got little captions underneath them, and I can go into them and step through them, and they all look good. Good formatting, nothing's got cropped out, no horrible black bars, and different formats and different ways of displaying them. So how have I achieved this? Well, the way I've done it is I've created an export preset in Lightroom, which will format the image to the standard 1080 by 1080 square aspect ratio that basically Instagram adores. It works really well with that aspect ratio. So if we can get our images into that aspect ratio without compromising the composition, we're onto a winner. So let's head over into Lightroom now, and I'll show you how I achieved it. And I've chosen 6 images of different aspect ratios, different styles, to try and illustrate potential solutions and why I came up with the final solution that I did. Well, we've got images here that, well, basically we have a couple of options. We could just crop them to the aspect ratios that Instagram likes. So for example, I could choose this particular image of strawberry venom, and I could go in and I could decide, well, I know it's quite happy with a 1:1, so let me crop it to a 1:1, and well, where do I want to crop it and how do I want to position it? And yes, well, that might work, but it's not the composition I want. I want the whole image. And with that aspect ratio, I can't get the full image. I suppose I could use the 1080 by 1350 size that they recommend, and that's a 4:5 aspect ratio. So let's enter that as a custom aspect ratio. So 4:5, okay. And again, even with that, I can't get full length easily. Come out and yeah, you see, I either lose the top of the head or the bottom of the feet on there, and neither is an acceptable solution to me. So I could set up presets for doing that, but it's not quite what I want. So let's have a look at the solution I've come up with. And here's how it works. I'm going to use that 1080 by 1080 pixel format that Instagram really likes. And I'm going to make sure that my image, no matter what aspect ratio it is, fits within that 1080 by 1080 square. I'm going to leave space around the outside so it looks like a frame, and I'm going to use some of that space below to actually put the caption on there, and I'm going to do it automatically directly from Lightroom, and it will work no matter what format or what aspect ratio the images are in. So how do we do it? There is one extra thing that you will need to be able to do it, and it's a plugin called LR-Mogrify 2, and you can get it from the Photographer's Toolbox. Now, I'll put the link to this down in the show notes down below this video so that you can get there. It's not free software, but it is donation software, and they just say effectively pay what you will for it. I found it a really, really useful piece of software. I've been more than happy to pay for it. I use it on a regular basis, not just for this type of thing, but I use it when creating theatre prints as well. So it's a very useful bit of software to have. The extra thing that you will need if you are doing this on a Windows machine, you will need ImageMagick 7. ImageMagick 7 is free. Again, the link's on the previous page, but I will put it down below in the show notes. And it's a self-installing file, so just download that and install it, and away you go. Now, installing the Mogrify add-on, it's quite straightforward. What you do is you end up with a LR plugin folder, and then let's go over to Lightroom and I'll show you what you do with it. We go to Plugin Manager. I've already got it installed, but you would hit Add, and you would find the folder with it in. So mine should be down here. Yeah, there we go. LR-Mogrify 2 plugin. You would select that folder and just click Select Folder, and that would install it. And once it's in there, you can just hit Done. So let's choose one of these images as an example. I'm going to work with the Strawberry Venom one. So I then hit Export. And what you will now see is you've got this panel of post-process actions, and underneath it you should have an LR-Mogrify 2 section. If necessary, expand that. And we'll talk about what all that's for in a moment. Right, let's work our way down the export options. The first thing to do is to choose hard drive as our location up here. You're going to need to choose a folder. Now, one option is you could choose folder later. I prefer with something like Instagram to choose a specific folder, and I have an image library area. So I'm going to put it underneath there, and I'm going to put it in a folder called Instagram. Don't want to add it to the catalog, and if it's already there, I want it to ask me whether to overwrite it or not. So that's fine. I don't need to rename. I want it to stay with my naming convention. It's going to be a JPEG. Quality, we want actually quite a high quality because Instagram does an awful lot of crunching down, so a fairly high quality to start with will help on that. So I'm going to set that to 90. Color space, sRGB is correct on there. Now, image sizing. Now, what about resizing the image? We want the image to fit within this 1080 by 1080 pixel square. We don't want to go up to the edges. We want at least 40 pixels all the way around and a little bit more at the bottom because I'm going to put a caption there. Let's deal with the width first. So 1080 minus 40 minus 40 gives us 1000. So our width, maximum width for the image is going to be 1000 pixels. For the height, it's going to be 40, and not 40 at the bottom, but I'm going to say 70 at the bottom. So I've got space to put that caption in. So that's 110 pixels. So that means the maximum height I can use for the image is 970 pixels. So let me put that in there. The resolution I am going to set to 72 because it's screen. It doesn't really make any difference, but I'm going to set it anyway. So now moving down, output sharpening. We're going to sharpen for the screen, standard amount on there. I'll leave the metadata as it is. I'm not going to put a watermark on for this. If you want to put a watermark on, you can do that. Bear in mind that this watermark is going to be within the image, not within the borders. If you want something within the borders, we can do that later, and I'll show you that, or talk about that as we go on. So we don't need to do that. Now, having done that, that's the resizing, that's smaller than we need. We now need to put everything else around it to make sure that the final image size is 1080 by 1080. So this is where LR Mogrify 2 comes in. And the first thing that we're going to need is the Image Magic configuration. So let's insert that. So we need to specify where that is. In my case, it's on the C drive, so I can click choose, and here we are. C, program files, other in my case. The folder, that will change depending on exactly what version it is you've installed. And we look down for Magic, and there it is. And so we just click select. The next thing we want to do is, because I'm going to be using a white border, I want a single line round the image just to delimit it, so that if I've got an image on a white background or part of the edge of the frame is white, we can see exactly where that is. So I'm going to choose outer borders and insert that. And the outer border, I'm actually going to put two borders on. The first one is identical borders, and it's 1 pixel all the way around, and I'm going to use black because that's going to be my line around the image. The second one, and you can add more by using the plus icon here, so I could add a third there. I don't want a third, but you can just add them there. My second one is not going to be identical, and what we want with this is 40 pixels at the top, because that's the top border that we want. We want at least that on there. And at the bottom, we want 70 on there. Think of that as the extra space that we're going to need around the image. So we put those in. So once you specify both of those borders, don't forget to specify the colors for them. The black border, you just click on here and choose black, and the white one white. Then after the outer border, we're going to put the text in. So text annotations and insert that. And the text, it's remembered it from my my previous workings on here. We just want the one item on this case. You can have multiple. I've decided I want it in the middle, and I'm going to use the font Calibri Light. It's a nice light sort of looking font. And for this size image, 24 pixels for the font size. Now we need to specify how far away from the bottom of the frame that we're going to put it. And this is done in pixels, and we've got a 70 pixel space at the bottom. So if I put it halfway, it's just going to be in the top half of the image, top half of that space below the image. So 35 pixels on there, and then we get to define what we're going to use as the title. So if you click Add Token, you can see all the different ones which are available. And you've got title of photo, caption for photo, all these sorts of things. So if you wanted to put your copyright message in there and you specify that by default, you can put your creator name in there so I could put that in, and I could put then copyright and my name, something like that. So you can choose what text you want to put underneath. I don't want that, I want title. But sometimes I don't always specify the title. I have got the option to give an alternative. So if I haven't got title, the chances are I have got the caption. So I can put within those curly brackets, comma, open another curly brackets, caption, close curly brackets. So I've got curly bracket, title, comma, curly bracket, caption, close curly bracket, close curly bracket. And what that does is it tries to extract the title. If it can't find anything in the title, it will use the caption on there. Then finally, we want to add the background canvas. So we insert that. And this is what expands the image to 1080 by 1080 square. As you can imagine, we've resized it to fit inside the inner rectangle, but depending on the aspect ratio of the image, it may only fit on one side or the other side. This will add extra space around, white space around, to make sure the whole thing fits within the 1080 by 1080 square. And if we move down to that, we don't need to worry about adjust for landscape portrait because it's square. We want these values to be 1080 by 1080, and the color needs to be white. The final thing to do, I always set the post-processing, this is a standard thing, say show in Explorer. So that is how I set it up. Now that's a lot to do for every single image, isn't it? So we create a preset. So having done that once now, I go over to this side and say add, and I'm going to call this IMB Instagram Square 1080 on there, and hit create on that. So I've got that to come back to, and I can now go export, and it should export that strawberry venom image with all the correct formatting. And there we go. You can see on the screen we've got the borders around, we've got space at the bottom here with the title in there, and it's padded it out to the 1080 by 1080. If I do view details pane, you can see it's 1080 by 1080 on there. So go back to that. Back over to Lightroom. This time I'm going to select all of them. Now, Word of warning on this, it's very tempting at this point to right click and go export, export with previous. It throws an error if you try and do that. So actually you do have to select it from the list that we've got. So what did I call it? I called it Instagram Square 1080. So I select that. And this confirms the overwrite setting, the one I've previously done, the strawberry venom. It says, do I want to overwrite it, skip or whatever? Well, I'm going to skip. Has already done it. And then it goes away, does the work, and in a moment, Explorer will open and show me all the images. So here we are. We can see them all sensibly formatted, despite their original aspect ratios, and all ready to be uploaded to Instagram. So I'm going to take the wreck at Fleetwood, drag the image over, next, next. I'll write a caption. We've got some tags in there. I'm not going to bother adding a location, and I can now share it. As simple as that. So here we are in my Instagram feed, all the images, which I think look rather nice on here. So I can click on that. I can see the image within the frame, nice white borders on there, ready, waiting for somebody to give it its first like. Hope you found this tip useful. All the links are down below. The next videos to watch are on the screen here, including a playlist of videos that you might like. So until next time, thanks for watching, and as ever, keep making great photos. Bye for now.